Yellow Corporation. I call it the Yellow Trucking Company. Yellow Corporation, the Yellow Trucking Company. 30,000 people. 30,000 people fired. Hey, y'all remember when the dude that was complaining, and I did it last week, I did a reaction to it, but the dude that was complaining inside of his job was talking about he was pissed because because his pension wasn't going to be around, because the Yellow Corporation had basically removed all of the workers' pensions. Well, shortly after that, very, very shortly after that, the Yellow Corporation shut down completely. Now, I've been doing a lot of videos and a lot of bringing forth to the front of the congregation all of the different people inside of the trucking industry, because I think that it's been, and I waited for like 2-3 years before I really started addressing this. P. Shank, did I skip over your super chat? Give me a second. I didn't mean to skip over your super chat. Let me see if I can catch that. Sorry about that, P. Shank. I didn't skip over your super chat, did I? I never want to do that. Sorry about that, P. Shank. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. I don't see it right away. Give me a second. I don't see it, P. Shank. Where? Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, I don't see the super chat, my friend. I'm sorry if I skipped over it by mistake, but I'm literally going through and trying to find it, and I do not see it. I apologize, P. Shank, but I do not see a super chat from you. I'm assuming that maybe it was removed. Sorry about that, P. Shank. Anyways, so I'm going to come back to it. Tell me what you said, and then I'll talk about it, but I apologize for missing your super chat. Now, the Yellow Trucking Company, and I waited for like 3 years, right? Lifestyle enthusiast is still Brab and Rita. I waited for like 3 years. I'm going to read that shortly. Before I started addressing what was going on in the trucking industry. And I'm going to tell you why. One of the reasons, the likes are looking egregious, so make sure y'all get the likes up. One of the reasons that I waited before I started addressing what was going on in the trucking industry is because I seen so many different people talking about and advocating for people to get into trucking. I seen video after video and influencer after influencer and person after person and platform after platform saying that, hey, everybody go and buy a truck. Everybody go get a box truck. Everybody go get a moving truck. Everybody go get a CDL. Everybody go get into trucking. Everybody go get a driver. And so behind the scenes, I was coaching people and I was like, yo, give me some insight and information on every single thing that you know about trucking. And so I started doing my research because I would never recommend something to somebody that I don't understand. Okay? And so y'all remember over a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, everybody was talking about going into trucking. Everybody was talking about going into trucking. Now, I think that trucking can be a profitable and good business for people that understand and make an informed decision as to whether or not they're going to go into trucking, which is why I never tell you what to invest in. I give you the lifestyle changes, the thoughts, the mindset, and I also give you my method for evaluating whether or not you should invest in something. So I never advocated for people to invest in and go and buy a big truck and all of that stuff, because the information that was given to me was that it was a boom bust industry. You had to move more specifically when it came, or you had to move more intentionally when it came to what part of trucking you were going to participate in. You had to understand the business side of it if you were going to buy a truck. You had to understand the importance of driver turnover, how much repairs were going to cost, if you were outside of or if you were off the road because you needed a big repair. And it was so much that they didn't add into the conversation, right? It was so much that they didn't add into the conversation. And so when I would talk to the people that was in trucking, I would say, listen, I know you're getting money now, but I need you to have a backup plan. This is what I want you to do. These are the classes I want you to take. And so many people continue to rock with me because they understand the value of having these conversations, right? Right? But let's go into the yellow trucking company, because I want y'all to understand, and it doesn't mean that truckers aren't doing okay or there aren't certain truckers that are doing well, but I want y'all to understand what you're getting into before you get into it. I don't want you to just run into something just because some influencer told you that this is what you should do.
After nearly a century of shipping freight all across the country, trucking giant Yellow Corp is shutting down their operations. They're also laying off about 30,000 of their employees. The company expected to file for bankruptcy this afternoon. Yellow, a less than truckload or LTL carrier, was known for offering some of the cheapest rates in the trucking sector. Their downfall coming just 3 years after receiving a $700 million bailout loan from the U.S. government, a move that will continue to impact taxpayers. Here with us now to talk about the ripple effect this could have on the economy is Todd Spencer, president and owner-operator of Independent Drivers Association.
Let me rewind that really quickly because I want y'all to see this. In operation for over 100 years. In operations for over 100 years. Filter said, what are your 8 checklists before going into a business? Inside of the Patreon, I got a video of the 8 things that I look for before I look to invest in a stock. And then there's some other criteria that I talk about on a regular basis, but I'll put together a checklist for you guys and drop that inside of the Patreon so it'll be the most recent video for you guys. But they were in operation for nearly 100 years. Major player in the less than truckload segment of the trucking industry, handled about 7% of the nation's shipments, less than truckload shipments in 2022, employed 30,000 workers nationwide. Over 70% were unionized. I don't think y'all understand exactly what happens when you have layoffs, especially of this magnitude. It's its own economy, right? It's its own economy. So if 30,000 people basically lose their jobs, what happens is, the first thing that happens is it starts to flood the market with more people that are looking for jobs in the same industry that you may be in. So competition stiffens. It becomes much more difficult for you to maintain your relevance in whatever industry that you're in, right? Scarcity provides a bigger bag. Competition lowers the cost or the barriers to entry, right? Which basically means that you're not as valuable as you thought you were, because there aren't a shortage of people and there's availability for people to continue to get into the industry because more people are now available for work, right? The second thing that happens is, inside of this particular industry, or not even just in this industry, in the environments in which these people live, work, play, shop, buy cars, right? This is the place where the dude lost his pension. It's a trickle-down effect. Similar to what happened when people started staying home from work, right? And they started working from home. All of the businesses that depended on the people and the restaurants and when you go out and you go shopping, whenever there's an event, right? And you go to a basketball game or you go to a hockey game or a football game, all of the vendors then benefit and they're able to feed their family. There's so many businesses that's interdependent on other businesses and people participate in the society that it then is a trickle-down effect. It's almost like when LeBron James left Cleveland the first time. When LeBron James left Cleveland the first time, it basically created a drain of over $1 billion on the Cleveland industry because it created less demand for people to actually buy, spend goods, services, sell jerseys, go to restaurants, come out to the games, right? It was a drain on the environment. And this is one of the reasons why they had got that bailout money in the first place, because the federal government understands the impact of a worrying economy and jobs being prevalent within your state. It generates way more revenue on the back end, and it creates a vibrant economy that allows for the state to continue to collect more revenue and taxes, right? Sales taxes, payroll taxes, unemployment, all of this stuff, it goes down, and then the tax base goes up, which allows for things to continue to contribute or become great as a result of it. I'll give you another example, right? Just to look at it from a business perspective. There are some states that don't have income taxes. That's a huge amount of revenue that the federal government forgoes. But then at the same time, if you look at some of those states, the property taxes and the value of those properties are much higher. So they forego it on this end in order to collect it on that end, and they have to do a calculation to determine whether or not they're going to be or their economy within that small segment is going to be vibrant based off of how it is that they set the tax code, right? So basically, what I'm telling you is that when 30,000 people get laid off, it fuck everything up for everybody, and it's a trickle-down effect, and it doesn't just not affect you, it affects everybody else.
Here with us now to talk about the ripple effect this could have on the economy is Todd Spencer, president and owner-operator of Independent Drivers Association. Todd, thank you so much for being here with me this afternoon. Let's start with what's happening now. What is this going to mean for the economy and for taxpayers?
Well, certainly today is a sad day for the 30.
Let me see this real quick. Volunteerist girl says taxation is theft. It's not. It's not. Overtaxation is theft. But also you have to understand that the people that determine how much you get taxed are also put into power by the very people that vote for them. So if somebody is stealing from you, then you need to look to your neighbor, look to the right and look to the left and say, who did you vote for? Overtaxation is theft, because if you don't get taxed, then I'm assuming that you also going to maintain your own roads. You're going to build your own infrastructure when it comes to water and sewage, right? You're going to regulate the different industries and the companies that then pour into or pollute your environments. You're going to fund your own waste management and cleanup, right? And one way or another, you're going to pay taxes. So I'm assuming that you're going to maintain your own infrastructure and economy also. Is that true? Y'all just be talking. Y'all genuinely just be talking. Y'all don't really understand what... I don't agree with being overtaxed, but I do know that we need taxes in order to ensure that our infrastructure and things like that is still taken care of. Okay, come on, let's be realistic.
3,000 employees of Yellow Freight. This was one of the old line carriers that at one time, among the group that at one time were the biggest players there was in trucking. That all changed with the Motor Carrier Act of 1980. That basically economically deregulated trucking and kind of created some of the fallout that we're still dealing with today. In that it's.
She says, "Where is your consent?" You don't have to consent to it. You can move. If you don't want to pay taxes here, then all you got to do is go and move to a different country that maybe you can find an opportunity to not pay taxes. If you don't want to pay taxes, all you have to do is remove yourself. That's your consent. When you decide to live in a certain environment, you decide to sign up for tax. You know why? I bet you're using your faucet. I bet you're thankful that your military is preventing people from sending missiles over here and taking over your fucking country. Huh? I bet you go over there and you take a shit inside of a toilet. When is the last time you used the restroom? Or do you use it inside of the woods? Huh? Do you go over there and you use a park that's then maintained by somebody else? Who do you think pays for that? When you call the police when something happens, where do you think that the money comes from? Listen, if y'all want to go and fucking live in the woods somewhere, then do so. But just stop using the toilets. Don't use your water system and the filtrations. Stop fucking complaining, man, or get the fuck up out of here. Can we say that? Listen, if you don't like the way that shit is going, either vote to do something different or get the fuck out of the country, bro. Go and move over there to Nigeria or fucking Haiti, where you can go and survive and live based off of whatever it is that you can survive and live off of. Protect yourself, create your own military, make sure that you go and filter your own water, go and create your own sewage systems. You live in the woods and you protect yourself. Yeah, that's why you're on the internet right now. Get the fuck out of here.
It's a tough business. Oftentimes it's a predatory business. Yellow's problems are long-standing problems. They haven't, they weren't just made of the last year or so. In many instances, they kind of overextended themselves. And again, you mentioned earlier, they were offering some of the lowest rates in the country to move goods, and that's kind of an impossible formula to follow when you have big overhead, and it finally caught up with them.
Todd, what happens to all of?
So you can't. This is a classic problem that I see happening with a lot of people in business. They don't truly understand the cost of doing business, right? They don't understand the cost of doing business. I'll give you an example, and I always like to refer back to the thing that I know the most: the restaurant business. The restaurant business. The cost of buying and selling food is not just buying it for $1 and selling it for $2. You have to take into account insurance and rent and electricity and taxes and theft. That's also baked into the cost, right? Transportation, services. And then you got to try to sell enough of it at a price point that allows for you to either make a profit, right? The more you sell, the lower the cost is in order for you to be able to break even or start to make a profit. When y'all go into these high-end restaurants, you're paying for the services, you're paying for that expensive ass chef, you paying for that expensive ass sign, you paying that they got all of that square footage of that place that they renting out. It's a huge cost that comes along with it. And so you can't just reduce the cost all the way to profitability because you can't scale effectively like that. You can't turn a profit by reducing costs and trying to drive out your competition unless you have something else that you're standing on in order to continue to grow the business. So I'll give you an example, right? Amazon largely sold things at cost or below cost when it came to the Amazon website. But Amazon Web Services was the thing that continued to power it. When you go inside of a Walmart today, and the home goods section is largely really, really profitable, but everything that's in the grocery section is a loss leader because that's the thing that gets you in the door in order to try to convince you to go over to the other sections and spend some money in electronics and home goods and so on and so forth, right? Go over there and buy some clothes, all of that, right? So you guys got to take into account how these companies are going out of business because they can't compete. You can't lower the prices that's unsustainable because then not only do you drive yourself out of business, but you also drive your competition out of business because there's nothing that's actually allowing for you to continue to become profitable, which is how you lose your pension and you fuck up a 100-year company. All right?
These workers now, you just mentioned some of the employees that have been there, many of whom I'm assuming for years. We do know that there's also a shortage in the trucking industry. Does this automatically mean, Todd, that some of these men and women who have been driving for Yellow
Super chat
will find employment, or is that not guaranteed?
Good drivers, good workers can always find employment. It may not be at the same level economically that it was previously. And you mentioned a minute ago one of the biggest myths in trucking in that there's a shortage of drivers. There's not a shortage of drivers. There is a shortage. The problem is retention. Drivers come and go. Many trucking companies have 100% turnover of drivers every year. So
trucking companies, think about this shit. Many trucking companies have over 100% turnover from their drivers. That means that year over year, this is how hard trucking is. And a lot of y'all y'all don't understand it. You're really not built for it. Over a 100-year company, right, goes out of business. Many trucking companies have a 100% turnover rate. That means year over year, if you hire 100 employees, it's a guarantee that year over year, you're going to have a completely different set of employees. All 100 of them is going to leave and you're going to get 100 more. Year over year, if you hire 1,000 employees, you're going to have 1,000 different employees the next year. That's how hard it is. That's how hard it is. Y'all don't really understand what these dudes go through. I don't think that y'all truly even have an appreciation for men in general. Y'all don't really have an appreciation for men in general. Most men are the ones that suffer the boom and bust cycles And then they are the ones that are doing the hardest jobs. They may make a decent amount of money, but when they start getting that bag, let them get their bag. Because they are living on the road. They get a little bit of Gawk Gawk 3000 from a lot lizard. Let them people get a little bit of Gawk Gawk 3000 from a lot lizard. Them boys ain't doing nothing but moving that freight. It is hard. When I see a truck driver and he get out and he be looking all dusty and shit, I'll be thinking to myself, hey, man, God bless you. God bless you, bro, because I know you've been on the road for at least 2 weeks straight. Y'all not built for that shit. You ain't built for that. You don't even have an appreciation for it. For all of these jobs where these people be grinding and hustling every day, truck drivers, firefighters, police officers, man, listen. Y'all might get a bag, but y'all don't understand the health problems that these people is going through. They sitting in the car, they be having herniated discs in their back and all of that shit, man. I'm telling you, bro, it's hard. They got 100% turnover rate. That means that most people ain't built for that. But even when they was making a whole bunch of money, most people are not built for it. Facts.
So there's plenty of jobs out there. Good people can fill those jobs. And hopefully, now, any kind of a job move is going to be strenuous. And it may not be as good. But, again, this isn't the best of time for anyone. We're optimistic that things will look up going forward.
Todd, you said something there that I want to circle back on. You talked about retention. What's happening in the industry that it's so hard to hold on to good drivers with experience?
Well, realistically, the job of trucking isn't like others in that the work weeks are quite frequently 70 to 80 hours long.
Shout out to Tiffany. Tiffany said, Anton, I am a woman trucker. Wait a minute. Give me a second. Interesting. I'm a woman trucker built for this. You said women aren't my business, like all have ups and downs, but geesh, you downing us. I bought my truck before the hype. It's for my grandkids. No. I'm not dissing you. I'm not saying that it's not women in the industry. I'm saying that most men can't handle it, so most women ain't in it. Most women ain't in it. If all of the men left trucking, this shit was shut down. You're not going to have a bunch of women that step up and do the shit that you doing in order to keep this whole economy running. Let me look at you one more time so I can get my thoughts together. I don't usually highlight comments that's not super chats, but let me see something. Hey, Tiffany, send me a DM. Link to my Instagram is in the description of the video. I want to no, it's not about the look. I don't care about all of that shit. All I'm saying is I'd like to interview you to get your perspective on what it's like to be a woman trucker in the industry. Tiffany's content. Send me a DM. Link is in the description for you to hit me up. We can chop it up. I'm curious to get what your perspective is. Holla at me. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are. Let's continue on with the show, ladies and gentlemen.
There aren't that many people that are interested in working a job that actually requires pretty much twice the commitment that other workers are going to make just to simply make a paycheck.
I'm genuinely concerned, and I'm genuinely curious about what it's like to be a woman in trucking today. That's all I want to know. What is it like to be a woman in trucking today? Send me a DM. I want to get you on the show. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are. Y'all got to start looking at things based off of a business perspective. We ain't tripping off of that.
Truckers that they live their lives out on the road. And that's not an easy gig either. Quality of life, family time, all of those are just, they're just too many instances. They're just kind of non-existent. So, yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck he's saying anymore. I done got distracted.